Guys, I'm so confused because people on Twitter last week were saying that Rachel Zegler was never going to be in another project ever again after Snow White. And this week, she was cast alongside an Oscar-winning actress, Marissa Tomei, in a comedy drama, She Gets It From Me. That's so crazy.
A major Rachel Zegler movie just halted production, and crew members claim it wasn't scheduling, it was her behavior. Crew members say trouble started weeks before the shutdown. At first, the problems seemed small. Rachel would roll her eyes during practice readings. She often showed up late holding coffee. She acted bored during rehearsals. A crew member said Rachel acted like she was doing everyone a favor by being there. The producers ignored these warning signs at first. They thought maybe she was just having a few bad days. But the small problems grew into bigger ones as filming continued. The mood on set got worse each day. People started dreading coming to work. What should have been an exciting movie set turned into a place filled with tension. Cast members would whisper to each other between takes. Crew members would share worried looks when Rachel entered a room. Things got worse when Rachel started fighting about the script. The story was already finished, but crew members say she wanted big changes. She would cross out lines she didn't like. She asked for scenes to be rewritten to make her character look better. She cared more about how her character would make her look good than about telling a good story. This created bad feelings on set as everyone argued about what the movie should be. The writers felt disrespected. The director tried to keep peace, but tensions kept rising. Other actors started to feel ignored. The movie was supposed to be an ensemble piece with many important characters, but Rachel kept pushing for more screen time, more lines, and more focus on her character. This made the other actors feel like their roles were being pushed aside. The breaking point came during a normal directing session. The director gave Rachel basic feedback about how to say her lines. This is normal for actors. Directors help actors find the right emotion and delivery for each scene. Most actors welcome this guidance. But crew members say Rachel got very angry. She yelled at the director, said he was attacking her talent, and walked off set while still wearing her costume. Everyone watched this happen, including extras and camera operators. The room fell silent. No one knew what to do. This moment started the end of the movie.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope.
The problems quickly spread through the entire set. Another actor refused to film scenes with Rachel unless someone else was there to keep the peace. This actor had worked with Rachel in earlier scenes and didn't feel comfortable being alone with her after the outburst. The makeup team changed their schedules so they wouldn't have to be in her trailer. They started drawing straws to decide who would have to work with her each day. Nobody wanted to be trapped in a small space with someone who might explode with anger at any moment. Someone who worked as an assistant called the set toxic and said Rachel had turned the movie into a PR disaster. The assistant had been excited to work on a big movie, but now dreaded each day. The fun, creative atmosphere had been replaced with stress and fear. At the same time, Rachel told people she was the victim and felt disrespected. She complained to anyone who would listen that she wasn't being treated like the star she was. She seemed unable to see how her behavior affected everyone around her. She acted surprised when people avoided her on set. This wasn't Rachel's first problem in Hollywood. After she made comments about Snow White that many people criticized, this movie was supposed to help fix her image. Disney had cast her as Snow White in their live-action remake, but her comments about changing the character had upset many fans. Instead of proving she could be professional, news stories changed from talking about her comeback to saying she was too hard to work with. People started seeing a pattern of behavior. She wouldn't take direction, wanted to change scripts, and created drama that became bigger than the actual movie. People online reacted fast and weren't kind. The story spread across Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, and Instagram within hours. Someone wrote that Rachel wasn't unlucky, just unlikable. Memes about her behavior flooded social media. Videos analyzing her past interviews went viral as people looked for earlier signs of attitude problems. This wasn't just normal celebrity gossip. This could change her whole career. When an expensive movie meant to help your career stops because of you, important people in Hollywood pay attention. Studio executives, producers, and casting directors all take note of who causes problems and who doesn't. A lawyer who works with movies said studios don't want to hire actors known for causing problems. Even talented actors get passed over if they're seen as difficult. Movies cost too much money to risk on someone who might shut down production. Insurance for films becomes more expensive for actors with bad reputations. The most striking thing about this situation was how quiet Hollywood stayed. Usually, when stars get in trouble, their friends speak up to support them. When other actors face controversy, their co-stars often post supportive messages or defend them in interviews.
She's got another viral hit.
I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
But no one stood up for Rachel. Not one Instagram post, not one tweet. The silence was noticeable. It seemed like everyone in Hollywood was avoiding any connection to her. This kind of industry-wide silence doesn't happen by accident. It's a clear sign that someone has lost the respect of their peers. When reporters asked other famous actors who worked with Rachel about what happened, they changed the subject or gave empty answers. In Hollywood, these non-answers speak volumes. One A-list actor who had praised Rachel in interviews just months earlier suddenly had to take a call when asked about her at a premiere. The movie studio didn't defend Rachel either. They just released a boring statement about production adjustments and commitment to excellence. This basically meant they were in damage control mode and didn't think Rachel was worth defending. The studio's PR team, usually quick to protect their stars, stayed silent about the allegations. They focused instead on their other upcoming films. Rachel's name disappeared from their social media accounts and press releases. It was as if they were trying to make people forget she was ever part of their project. The effect spread quickly through Hollywood. A rising actress dropped out of a future movie with Rachel, saying they had creative differences. This is Hollywood talk for "I saw the news and don't want to work with her." The movie had been announced with both actresses just 2 months earlier, with excited press coverage about their pairing. Other actors told their agents not to put them in movies with Rachel. They worried that working with her would damage their own reputations. In Hollywood, your reputation is everything. No one wants to be associated with a project that might fall apart or get bad press. Even reporters who used to like Rachel started looking back at things she said before. Comments that once seemed honest now looked bratty. Interviews that had been praised for being refreshingly candid were now described as revealing warning signs. One entertainment writer published a timeline of Rachel's most controversial statements, tracking what they called her path to becoming unhireable. After staying quiet at first, Rachel made things worse. Instead of listening to her PR team, she went on Instagram Live and made everything worse. Wearing a hoodie and using a sarcastic tone, she complained about people not calling her back. She kept rolling her eyes, which shocked even her fans. The live stream lasted 20 minutes, and viewers watched in disbelief as she seemed unaware of how she was coming across. She acted as though she was the wronged party, not understanding that this attitude was exactly what people were criticizing her for. The view count climbed into the thousands as people shared the link, amazed at what they were watching. The social media disaster didn't stop there. She mentioned she would be on a talk show where she planned to discuss them, smirking like she was threatening the movie production. This suggested she might violate confidentiality agreements, which worried her legal team and the studio executives even more. She posted TikTok videos joking about playing 2 roles in the movie, saying, "There's 2 of me, double the trouble." This was terrible timing since everyone was saying she was the main problem on set. The video got hundreds of thousands of views, but the comments section filled with criticism rather than support. Even her biggest fans had trouble defending her. Her fan accounts, which had previously jumped to her defense during controversies, went quiet or posted lukewarm responses. Some longtime fan page admins publicly announced they were stepping back from supporting her. They couldn't justify her behavior anymore, even to themselves. Rachel did all this against her team's advice. Her representatives had written an apology for her to give, but she refused. She reportedly said she was done playing nice. This turned a fixable problem into something much worse with possible legal consequences. Her Her agents and managers were said to be frustrated because they couldn't help someone who wouldn't take advice. Behind the scenes, things got even more serious. The studio's lawyers started checking if Rachel's social media posts broke her contract rules about keeping secrets and not saying bad things about the production. These clauses are standard in movie contracts, and violating them can lead to lawsuits. The movie company started collecting evidence. They saved her posts with timestamps, kept messages, and talked to cast and crew who felt mistreated. This kind of documentation usually happens when a studio is preparing for potential legal action. They wanted to protect themselves in case things escalated further. One assistant said they felt unsafe during Rachel's angry outburst during a scene. They described how Rachel had thrown a script across the room, nearly hitting several crew members. The assistant had worked on over a dozen film sets and said they had never seen behavior like this from a lead actor before. What started as a bad reputation turned into possible legal trouble. The studio executives held emergency meetings to discuss their options. They consulted with their insurance company about whether the shutdown would be covered. They talked with lawyers about their contractual obligations to Rachel and the rest of the cast.
The honor of a lifetime, I think. Any young person, any little girl, you get to put on a Disney princess dress and be her for a day, let alone 6 months of shooting in London on these incredible sets in a sandy palace.
Rachel's own lawyers told her to stop posting on social media, but it was too late. The hashtag #ReplaceZegler was already trending. It appeared in hundreds of thousands of posts across multiple platforms. People suggested other actresses who could take over her role, creating side-by-side comparison images. Fans made edits replacing Rachel with other actresses. They used digital tools to put different faces on her body in promotional images that had already been released. Some of these edits were remarkably convincing and spread widely online. This kind of fan behavior showed how quickly public opinion had turned against her. The studio stayed completely silent, which often means legal talks are happening behind closed doors. When studios face this kind of crisis, their first priority is limiting financial damage. They bring in crisis management teams, legal experts, and insurance specialists to figure out the best path forward. Someone close to a producer said, "This isn't about finishing the movie anymore. It's about not losing millions of dollars." The producer had been excited about the project's potential, but now just hoped to minimize the financial damage. Their focus had shifted from making a great film to salvaging what they could from the mess. The money problems got worse. Insurance companies can refuse to pay for losses caused by actor behavior. Most film insurance policies have clauses about talent issues that limit coverage when a star's behavior causes problems. This meant Rachel's actions could cost the studio millions of dollars they couldn't get back. With a budget estimated at over $70 million and nearly half already spent on production, the financial stakes were enormous. The studio had to consider whether to completely cancel the film, replace Rachel and reshoot her scenes, or try to salvage the footage they already had by rewriting the story. People said the studio was writing a legal document that would let them fire Rachel and fix the movie without starting over. This almost never happens unless things are extremely bad. It's called a force majeure clause, which lets studios make major changes when circumstances beyond their control disrupt production. The fallout spread through the whole industry. PR teams at several agencies marked Rachel as high risk. This internal rating meant they would advise clients against working with her. In Hollywood, reputation management firms have significant influence over who gets cast in major projects. Talent managers warned their clients not to be photographed with her. They understood that in the age of social media, just being seen with someone controversial could bring unwanted attention to their clients. Photos last forever online, and managers didn't want their clients associated with Rachel's growing negative reputation. A big brand that had hired Rachel for a campaign quietly removed her from all their ads without saying anything. The campaign had been shot months earlier and was scheduled to launch the following month. The company had invested over $2 million in the campaign, but decided it was better to lose that money than to have their brand connected to the controversy. Beyond Rachel's own career problems, her situation started bigger talks about how to handle young stars, especially those with big social media followings.
Disney is hosting a Hollywood premiere of Snow White March 15th, but the studio won't be rolling out a robust red carpet. That's right. The premiere is just, don't tell anybody. They have to do it.
The entertainment industry was already struggling with how to manage talent in the social media age. Rachel's case became a perfect example of what could go wrong. Someone who works in the industry said she's a walking HR risk. The warning signs were always there. We just ignored them because everyone was excited about her. This talent scout had watched Rachel's rise with concern, noticing patterns of behavior in early interviews that suggested potential problems down the road. What started as one actress's bad behavior turned into a warning story that made studios rethink how they work with outspoken young stars. Industry conferences and executive meetings began including discussions about the Rachel Zegler situation and how to prevent similar problems with other young stars. Studios quickly made policy changes. They started putting behavior rules in contracts, especially for actors under 30 with lots of social media followers. These clauses specified what kind of social media posts were acceptable and what would violate the agreement. They spelled out consequences for breaking these rules. These rules basically said, you can express yourself, but don't damage our movie in the process. The language was legally binding and gave studios more control over how stars talked about projects. Some contracts now included specific fines for unauthorized comments about productions. No more unplanned Instagram videos, no more speeches that take attention away from the movie. Studios began requiring approval for social media posts related to projects. Some even added mandatory cooling-off periods after disagreements on set, preventing stars from immediately going online to vent their frustrations. While Rachel called herself honest and outspoken, movie executives now saw this as a problem, not a good thing. Authentic had been a buzzword for casting young stars, but Rachel showed that unfiltered authenticity could be risky for business. Studios began to value professionalism and discretion more highly than online popularity. Other outspoken young stars faced immediate review. Executives looked at their past statements, checked if they needed media training, and thought about their communication style. They pulled interview clips, analyzed social media posts, and evaluated how these stars handled criticism. They asked important questions. Can this person talk to reporters well? Will they keep set problems private? Will they promote the movie or just create drama? These questions became part of the casting process, especially for big-budget films where so much money was at stake. Rachel's situation made it clear that getting attention online doesn't always mean you're valuable to a movie. Having millions of followers used to be a big selling point for casting an actor. Now studios looked more carefully at what kind of online presence someone had. They wanted stars who could bring positive attention, not controversy. Even the people who represent actors changed how they work. Talent agencies started providing more media training to their young clients. They hired social media experts to review posts before they went public. They created crisis management plans for potential controversies. One young actress who speaks out about social issues was told by her team to chill out online for 6 months while they found her next movie role. Her agent showed her Rachel's situation as a warning. The actress agreed to be more careful about what she posted, understanding that her career could be affected. Another actress was told to delete tweets criticizing studio executives right after signing a deal for multiple movies. Her management team said the tweets could make her look unprofessional and difficult to work with. They reminded her that in Hollywood, relationships with executives matter just as much as talent. For years, Hollywood tried to appeal to young viewers by hiring outspoken actors who seemed real and authentic. Studios wanted stars who connected with Gen Z audiences through social media. They encouraged actors to share their real opinions and personalities online. This strategy helped movies feel relevant to younger audiences. Now they worried some stars were too real, causing more problems than benefits. The pendulum began to swing back toward the old Hollywood system of more controlled public images. Studios began to prefer stars who could maintain a good public image while keeping any controversial opinions private. Rachel's troubles made everyone nervous about the next young star. Casting directors became more cautious about recommending actors with strong online presences, but limited professional experience. They started putting more weight on references from previous directors and producers about on-set behavior. When a promising actor becomes a problem, studios take fewer risks. This affects everyone's jobs. Production companies started building more time into schedules for potential delays. They created backup plans in case stars became uncooperative. Some even began casting understudies for lead roles in big-budget films, something previously reserved for theater productions. People stopped asking if Rachel could fix her career and started asking if Hollywood even wanted her back at all. The conversation shifted from what will it take for her to recover to is she worth the risk to anyone? Industry insiders debated whether any studio would give her another chance on a major production. Many celebrities have comeback stories. We've seen stars fall hard and rise again. Robert Downey Jr. overcame serious problems to become Iron Man. Drew Barrymore transformed from troubled child star to beloved actress and talk show host. Winona Ryder returned to prominence with Stranger Things after years away from the spotlight. But to make a comeback, you need help. You need a mentor, loyal fans, or a studio willing to give you another chance. Someone with power has to believe in you enough to take a risk. For Robert Downey Jr., it was Jon Favreau fighting for him. For others, it might be a director who sees their potential despite past problems. Rachel had none of these. People who once supported her now stayed away from her. Directors who had expressed interest in working with her suddenly had scheduling conflicts. Producers who had praised her talent became silent when her name came up in meetings. Some people in the industry called her story a reverse Cinderella. She was discovered from nowhere, given fame, then watched it all disappear. Instead of losing a glass slipper, she lost her fans and her good name. The fairy tale ending seemed increasingly unlikely as the controversy continued to grow rather than fade. The worst part was that Rachel didn't seem to understand how serious her situation was.
The dumbest things I've said, I don't absolve myself from that. I'm not sitting here being like, I'm 21, please forgive me. Like, the stupid I've said and done is stupid. But I just want to say, in my personal life, I intend to move forward with a lot more grace for myself as I grow.
She kept posting on social media with sarcasm and self-pity. Her tone suggested she saw herself as unfairly persecuted, rather than facing the consequences of her own actions. She doubled down on her behavior, even as she lost support. Each new post seemed to dig her hole deeper. PR experts watched in disbelief as she ignored the most basic crisis management advice. Stop talking, apologize sincerely, and let time pass before attempting a comeback. When an actress keeps asking for sympathy after the industry has moved on, she doesn't create a comeback story. She becomes a warning to others. Film schools began using her case as a teaching example of how not to handle on-set conflicts and public relations crises. Her story became a cautionary tale discussed in entertainment business classes. Hollywood was making new rules for young stars, and Rachel didn't fit these rules anymore. The industry was always changing, but her situation accelerated changes in how studios managed talent. The rules became stricter, the contracts more detailed, and the expectations clearer. She might get another role someday or give an interview saying she's changed, but the truth was that the industry had moved on. Hollywood always finds new stars. For every actor who faces controversy, there are hundreds of talented performers waiting for their chance. Studios rarely need to take risks on problematic stars when so many alternatives exist. News stories might still use her name, but attention was shifting to other actors. Her 15 minutes of fame seemed to be ending. The spotlight that had once shone so brightly on her career achievements now illuminated only her controversies. Her romantic comedy with big stars was quietly recasting her role. The project had been announced with much fanfare 6 months earlier. Rachel had posted excitedly about working with several A-list actors. The script had reportedly been adjusted to expand her role because of her rising star power. They would probably say it was because of scheduling conflict, but insiders said this was just a quiet way to cut ties without making more news. This excuse is commonly used in Hollywood, when the real reasons might be controversial or legally sensitive. No one wanted to publicly admit they were removing her because of her reputation. This situation raised big questions about fame, social media, and how studios work with actors in the digital age. The old studio system kept tight control over stars' public images. Publicists crafted careful statements. Interviews were heavily managed. Stars rarely spoke directly to fans without a filter. When stars can talk directly to millions of followers, the old system of PR control is gone. There's no time delay, no editor, no publicist to say, maybe don't post that. Social media gives stars immediate access to their audience, for better or worse. Rachel's case showed the downside of this change. She showed how quickly unfiltered posts can ruin years of careful career building. A career that took years to build can collapse in days because of impulsive social media decisions. Rachel had spent years working to get noticed, going to auditions, taking small roles, and building connections. All that work was threatened by a few weeks of bad behavior and poorly considered posts. The industry is watching closely, taking notes, and making changes to prevent the next Rachel situation. Studio executives discuss her case in meetings about talent management. Acting schools use her story as a warning to students about professional behavior. PR firms cite her example when advising clients about social media practices. The question remains, can Rachel bounce back from all these problems? Is this a temporary setback or a career-ending crisis? Has Hollywood already decided her fate, or will she get another chance? These questions remain unanswered as the situation continues to unfold. Or has Hollywood quietly moved on without her knowing it? This seems increasingly likely as weeks pass without any positive developments in her situation. The industry has a short memory for success, but a long memory for problems. People who cause production shutdowns aren't easily forgiven. The next few months will show if this is just a bump in a long career or the moment that changed her future forever. Time will tell whether Rachel can overcome this crisis or whether it will define her legacy in the entertainment world. The path to redemption exists, but it requires humility and growth that she hasn't yet demonstrated. Whatever happens, one thing is certain. Her story has already changed how Hollywood works with young talent in ways that will affect the next generation of actors for years to come. New contract clauses, different social media policies, and changed casting practices will be her lasting impact on the industry, regardless of what happens to her own career. The Rachel Zegler situation serves as a powerful reminder that in Hollywood, talent alone isn't enough. Professional behavior, respect for colleagues, and good judgment matter just as much as acting ability. Even the most promising stars can fall if they can't work well with others and manage their public image responsibly. For young actors watching this story unfold, the lessons are clear. Technical skill must be paired with professionalism. Social media can build your career or destroy it. What happens on set doesn't stay on set in the age of instant communication. And when you make mistakes, how you respond to them matters just as much as the mistakes themselves. For movie fans, this situation offers a rare glimpse behind the glamorous facade of Hollywood. The making of movies involves hundreds of people working together under pressure. When one person disrupts that delicate balance, especially a lead actor, the entire project can collapse. The stakes are high, and the tolerance for disruptive behavior is increasingly low. Rachel's story isn't just about one actress's bad behavior. It's about an industry in transition, struggling to balance authenticity with professionalism, social media freedom with brand protection, and creative expression with financial responsibility. Her situation became the perfect case study of these tensions playing out in real time. As newer and younger stars rise to fame, they'll do so in a Hollywood that learned hard lessons from the Rachel Zegler situation. The rules will be clearer, the expectations firmer, and the consequences more explicitly defined. Whether this creates a better working environment or just a more controlled one remains to be seen. If you found this deep dive into Hollywood drama interesting, hit that like button to let us know. Subscribe to our channel for more insider stories about the entertainment industry's biggest names and most dramatic moments. Leave a comment with your thoughts on Rachel's situation. Do you think she deserves another chance, or has Hollywood rightfully moved on? Turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video, where we'll be covering another major celebrity crisis that changed how the industry operates. Thanks for watching.